NFL, Colin. Obviously, free agency has changed the fortunes of several teams, but this list surprised me just a little bit. According to the other place, here are the 10 most improved teams after free agency. Number 1, the Pittsburgh Steelers? What? Yeah, they got better. They don't have a quarterback. How are they that improved? The improve means they've got to improve off making the playoffs. 2 was the Niners, largely due to the Mike Evans move. Then you have the Lions, Saints, Broncos. I don't see the Jets in the top 10, but that's par for the course. I'm curious.
I would put the Raiders number 1.
Yeah, so this list, if you drill down, leans heavily on skill position players. Yeah. You know, Rico Dowdle, the wide receiver Michael Pittman. Like, those are good gets for Pittsburgh, but that's not what puts you over the top in the offseason.
The
it's
Raiders
the trenches.
Getting Tyler Linderbaum and a couple of defensive guys for Fernando Mendoza, to me, feels like I would do Raiders 1. Steelers were okay. Pittman's a good get. They didn't have a number 2 receiver. Yeah,
I like what they did, but I'm with you. Raiders number 1 for sure. All right, let's get to the...
Yeah, the Raiders are clearly sitting at the top of the list. And that's even before you factor in the obvious addition of a quarterback. And I'm assuming we're not even counting the coaching hire here because I think this is strictly about free agency. But you know, I don't know what the exact parameters were for this evaluation. But yeah, it's interesting that you're not seeing the usual heavy hitters pop up, the Bills, the Ravens, the Eagles, the Chiefs, right? That entire top tier is absent, along with some of those up-and-coming squads like the Bears, or the Packers who've been hovering around the periphery. Instead, you're seeing teams that are considered legitimate title threats simply based on what we witnessed last season. The Broncos, the Patriots are in the mix. The Lions, too. It's just a fascinating blend. These kinds of rankings, honestly, I don't put much stock in them. I really don't. Because what are they even measuring? You know? What's the emphasis here? What's being prioritized? How much room for improvement did a team have to begin with? Right? You could easily argue that some of the teams not on this list didn't need to move the needle much at all. Take the Rams. First off, did the Rams even get worse? It's not about who's the best team after free agency, it's about who improved the most. So lists like this are really, really tricky to navigate. But there are definitely a few franchises I'm excited to see on there: the Commanders, the Jaguars, the Raiders. Then there are the obvious ones like the Broncos and so on. But when I zero in on specific teams, when I narrow it down to the Raiders, the Commanders, and the Saints specifically, to me, those 3 franchises from this list are the ones that absolutely needed to take a legitimate, significant step forward to generate any real optimism and build any sense of momentum heading into the upcoming season. The Lions? Less so. The 49ers? Less so. The Broncos? Less so. The Patriots? Less so, right? Because I already feel like the foundation is there, the core is in place. They don't need flashy moves or massive swings for me to think, okay, we're back on track. At least that's how I see it. But the Saints, the Commanders, and the Raiders definitely need to create that feeling. Obviously, for a team like the Raiders, that's especially true. The Saints had already started building some momentum. The Commanders are a tricky case because they were phenomenal in 2024, then 2025 hit them hard with injuries, the roster aged, and they went through some coaching turnover. So you already have a reason for optimism once Jaden Daniels returns, etc., etc. But the roster clearly needed an upgrade. For me, with the Commanders, I'm still focused heavily on the offensive coordinator change and what David Blau's role will look like. Yeah, I'm on the fence. One minute I feel pretty good about it, the next minute I'm thinking, I don't like this at all. So I'm trying to stay open-minded, and it's really a wait-and-see situation. I have less confidence in that than I'd like to admit. And that's why, again, when it comes to the Raiders, I have complete, unwavering confidence in every move they've made so far. And there's still chatter about whether they might trade Max Crosby. A few teams are circling. If they hold on to him, I love it. If they deal him, I still love it. I just think the Raiders are in such an ideal spot right now where, honestly, no matter which direction they go, I feel fantastic about it. I genuinely will. I'll be able to come on here and say the Raiders could trade Max for whatever package comes back, and I'd still be thrilled. I'd still find a way to hype it up and be excited. And if they simply keep him, I'll love that just as much and feel equally great about it. So for me, when I have that feeling about an organization, I'm like, this team is in such a position of strength and upward trajectory that it feels like they can't miss. The momentum is so overwhelmingly behind them. It's honestly like basketball where you're in that zone where you literally cannot miss, right? The rim looks as wide as the ocean. It doesn't matter what you do, what kind of shot you take, it's going in. That's genuinely how I feel about the Las Vegas Raiders right now. I can't remember being this optimistic about a team, especially one that had been stuck in the mud for so long, as I am with the Raiders. Maybe it's because of the season they just had, where they're coming from and the moves they've executed. Even with a team like the Commanders in 2024, I was incredibly high on Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn, those hires, and then bringing in Jaden Daniels. I was over the moon. I kept saying I thought Jaden was going to be special. But some of the other moves, I felt good about, I felt positive about, and I can't recall the exact sequence of moves they made throughout free agency and into the draft. I felt good. I felt optimistic. I felt positive. I was excited. But this feels different to me right now with the Raiders. Maybe it's because I believe in the coaching hire even more. Maybe it's because I feel like I don't want to say I feel better about Mendoza than I did about Jaden, but it feels like the floor for Mendoza potentially felt, or I should say, at the time, felt more stable than with Jaden. I still believe Jaden's ceiling is through the roof. I'm a massive Jaden Daniels believer. I think I'll be vindicated when he comes back healthy because I think he's truly special. But because of his playing style, his mobility, and obviously now the injury, the floor feels a bit uncertain. To me, with Mendoza, there's a sense of a little more insurance, a little more protection against the floor collapsing completely. And I think that gives me some confidence. And again, I feel really comfortable with the offensive line and what they'll be able to build in the running game. The Commanders really struggled with that with their rookie. Because I feel like the Commanders were probably the last team that went from absolutely nothing to something I felt really, really great about. But not to this level. Again, I felt positive about the Broncos, but they were already coming off a season where they had Sean Payton in place, there was already some development happening. It was weird with Russell Wilson, but they were still competitive, and I was in favor of Bo Nix, but it just had a different kind of momentum. I just feel like the Raiders are doing everything right, making every single decision perfectly. And some of the other pieces they already have waiting in the wings, like Ashton Jeanty, Brock Bowers, etc., you're not even really factoring those in at this moment. You're not even considering that some of those pieces were never truly maximized or utilized because you didn't have the coach, you didn't have the offensive line, you didn't have the quarterback, you had nothing to actually use those pieces effectively. If you added everything the Raiders have added this year so far, plus Mendoza, plus the coach, plus Bowers and Jeanty, you'd be like, how did they pull all of this off? So the fact that they technically already have some of that left over, you're not even legitimately accounting for it, especially when you're looking at this list of most improved teams after free agency. They're not factoring in those pieces because they weren't acquired in free agency, they were brought in over the last couple years. Yet the pieces they've acquired, both on the field in terms of roster construction and obviously coaching, you're actually elevating all of that as well. You're enhancing all of that. So it's a double, triple, quadruple bounce on a trampoline. Some of those moves, if you have Jeanty, let's say he legitimately becomes an elite running back, an absolute game wrecker. But you have a terrible line, a terrible quarterback, your team is a mess. So you literally can't do anything with Jeanty. Just try to imagine what that would look like. You can't do anything with him. Now, during this offseason, you fix the offensive line, you get elite protection. So now you're going to have an elite offensive line. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but let's just say you have a top-tier offensive line. That alone, regardless of anything else, no matter who your quarterback is, no matter who your running back is, no matter who your head coach is already a massive boost, a huge leap on its own to put you on a list like this and say, you've had a top offseason, top roster acquisitions post-free agency, etc., etc. And that's not even adding the fact that by doing all of that, you're also technically now adding an elite running game because of that move. So it's not actually being factored into these kinds of conversations, even though it effectively is. Even though it's closer to reality than it appears. So I think there's potential that even a team like the Raiders is being significantly Undervalued because some of these moves have the impact to bridge past acquisitions and allow them to legitimately shine in ways they simply couldn't before. So I continue to say that as long as Clint Kubiak isn't an absolute disaster, thinking, what did I get myself into? And as long as Mendoza doesn't see all of Dan Orlovsky's fears come true, and at the bare minimum, Mendoza is just a solid quarterback in his rookie year, I mean, listen, if we're looking at this and we're saying teams like the Chiefs haven't gotten better, and the Bills, the Ravens, and so on, I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. We've seen it plenty of times. We saw it with the Texans. We saw it with the Commanders. We saw it with the Jaguars. We've seen a lot of these teams go in the blink of an eye from pretty much nothing to, okay. Wow. Yeah, I see it. I see it. I mean, heck, even a team like the Bills had it happen. And the Ravens had it happen, right? Not the Chiefs because they already had momentum and success with Alex Smith, but it happens. It happened with the Eagles, right? Even the teams that have firmly established themselves as perennial contenders, even those teams seemingly got better overnight in a pretty profound way and never really looked back. So is that going to be the Raiders' path? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think they have the team for it. I really do. I think they have the roster for it. That's why I'm putting it squarely on the shoulders of Clint Kubiak and Mendoza. Not expecting them to be kings, not expecting them to run through everyone flawlessly without any issues. But if they can just take care of the floor, not the ceiling. If they just secure the floor, it's on. It's game on. I encourage you this season to look at the Raiders in terms of their floor. As long as they fix the floor, the ceiling will come. But as long as they fix the floor, they are genuinely, undeniably, 1000% going to be competitive, going to be legitimately in the hunt. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about the Las Vegas Raiders? Am I overrating them right now? Am I getting too hyped? Am I getting too excited about the Las Vegas Raiders? You guys know I'm definitely super excited about the Raiders, so I'm setting myself up for an epic victory lap, an epic I told you so moment, where every single week everybody just can't wait to watch the Raiders lose so they can run to the comment section. And then when I'm making a post-game video about the Bills or the Eagles or the Jaguars, they're going to be like, where's the Raiders video? Where's the Raiders video? And I'll be like, guys, I'm going to make the Raiders video. Let me get a chance to do it. So, Raiders, don't let me down, man. Don't let me down. Please, don't let me down. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, her way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some debates. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here. I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.